fresh story that I heard last night from Harav Mendi Chanin. Tari, slicha. Husiperli Sipur. He told me a story that he heard from Noam Wagner, Harav Noam Wagner. Mamash, it happened this week. He's building a mikveh in South Africa by the yeshiva, and he has a contractor, and he has a foreman, a mashgiach, a supervisor, someone who's in charge of the work. Hakablanu Yehudi, Ger Tzedek. The contractor is a Ger Tzedek, but the foreman is a non-Jew. He had a sefer in the building of the yeshiva to check the mezuzahs, and he asked the sefer if he wants to come and if he wants to be shown, he wants to have a tour of the mikveh, of the new mikveh. So he took him to show him the tour of the mikveh. The contractor afterwards comes over to Rabbi Noam Wagner, and he says to him, who was the third person with you by the mikveh? The non-Jew, the supervisor, told me that you were there with two people showing them the mikveh. I asked him, who were these people that you were showing the mikveh? So he tells me, one of them was the sefer, the person who's in the building checking the mezuzahs, however he explained it. And the other one, I don't know. I never saw him. He says, what did he look like? He said, he looked like the person, the big rabbi in the pictures. Let's stop for a second. No one understood about a third person being there. Rabbi Wagner did not claim there was a third person. He said there was no third person. This non-Jew, he saw a third person, and he claims it looked like the Rebbe. I think it's a story custom made for tonight. Mamash, a fresh story. What does it tell us? And I don't know why Dafka the Goy could see and the Yid can't see. I'm sure there's a lesson in that. But it tells us that the Rebbe is beguf, at least visibly, to a non-Jew, beguf. And he's where a shliach is, where there's a new mikveh. Kal v'chomer, the Rebbe in his own Dal Damas is pushed here right now. And he's here with us all the time, and we should have to remember this, and such a story drives it home and reminds us not to get distracted. I would like to introduce the Rav Morad Asra, Chavad Bezen Tzedek of Crown Heights, Shchunas HaMelech, Kanziv Hashem Esabracha, and I'm sure he knows how to address the Elam, how to talk and bring out the right feelings and the right understanding and the right Mitzvah B'Peil for Gimel Tamuz tonight, 25 years, how it should come out B'Peil Mamish in Mitzvah B'Peil. Rav Broin. הרב קרץ, אולי אתה יכול לסדר קצת לחיים. טרם לקרוא ואני אענה.
במשך המאה ה-10 Vielleicht darf man reden.
English Elam, as a lot of times, we don't start talking in English, even though we don't see too many here, but there are, and also there are a lot of listening. So we try to be Mishalach. Shomer v'zocher b'dibur echad harav, ishtadel, v'daber, v'kama l'shenes b'yachad.
The Eibishter could do that. Melech the last of Shabbos Kodesh, there were many Farbrengens here in 770. And the pastors Chassidim Farbrengen about his kashas to the Rebbe, Hu B'chaim, Imi Yadibur Hoye Medaber, how the Rebbe talks to every single chassid. The Rebbe is a cook. Some of us remember, are of age to remember it, B'Peil Mamish. And some of us only from videos, how the Rebbe by Farbrengens looks at every rephrase. How the Rebbe looks at individuals who are lifting up their cup to say L'chaim, and that Tnua Tzaddik, the Rebbe gives you a shakal in cup, and you know it means only you. Und der Aves Yisrael von dem Rebbe, wie jeder Yid, every Yid is negayah to the Rebbe, v'chulu, v'chulu, v'chulu. Und Belashon of the Rebbe in the famous letter of Gimel Tamuz, Rabbim HaMechapsim, and perhaps B'Shonim Achreinis, we also see Rabbim HaMevarim. The Rebbe's Lashon is Rabbim HaMechapsim u'Mevarim. Mailas Gdulas, we see both Mailas, Gdulas, and the Rebbe gives a reshima of different things that people are mechapes and mevair. In a subsequent letter, the Rebbe explains why all these digmoyes that he chose are masim to Chabad, Chagas, Nehim, which is a separate Indian that sometimes you don't even see Bashkafa Rishena. The Rebbe just throws a bunch of titles, Mesiras Nefesh, Goyin, Sadik, Balmidis, Melumad Benisim, V'oid V'oid, and even the V'oid V'oid gets an explanation in a subsequent letter. The Rebbe's haflo and Teira, Chaim Zimmerman, told the Rebbe that he thinks, I don't know if people know who Chaim Zimmerman is. Chaim Zimmerman is a person that appreciates Vodas Meit HaGoyin. Chaim Zimmerman told the Rebbe that he thinks that the whole Kadeshim can be summarized in 3 Nekudas. So the Rebbe said, I don't know if Efsher or I think the Rebbe said that, Efsher, 2 Nekudas and Efsher Goreina. And he was blown away. The Achtus and Teire was man said beim Rebbe that Nigle, Chsidus, Chkira, Kabbalah, Halacha, Meise Bepeil, and in Nigle Gufa, Lomdus, Diyukim, Girsayus, Pshat, whatever, you could go on and on and on. That's going. So there's a lot to talk about the Rebbe. It's ongoing, it doesn't stop. Salebet gezach starker and semer aktiv v'chulu v'chulu. Positivity, bias, social justice, well, universal messages, humanistic messages. V'chulu v'chulu. Oh, but the mahus, in every single thing we have done, moichel da, the Farbrengen of Yud Shvat Yud Aleph, the Rebbe said that even the people that the Shver sent, gave them a particular shlichus, the Rebbe, the Shver, the Friedrich Rebbe gave them a certain shlichus, need to know that that's the kavanah chitzonis, but there's a pnimistic kavanah in that gufa. There's nefesh, there's ruach, there's neshama, there's chai, yechida, and just like in his kashrus, there's kama, ifani, his kashrus. Limit Teirasai, for Arangen of Yechidus, for Nsum Rebbe, Nesinas Maimed, Shmira Sera Oisav, the Shiurim, the Chulu, the Chulu. So we talk about the Rebbe and our discussions with the Rebbe. Darf man die Grund in sich, we have to go down to the root. Eben, wir können sie sagen, was ist der Rebbe allein? What's the mohus of the Rebbe? What's the pnimis, what's the etzem of the Rebbe? And where that's negay for us, b'chai hayem yem v'peil mamish. Miyom holchi lecheder ve'eit koidem lazeh hischil israkem b'dimyeni tzir gula asida gula ba'efen kazeh v'chulu v'chulu. Everybody knows this letter. When the Rebbe writes why he didn't write to Ben Zvi, the so-called president of Medinas Yisrael, the supposedly right Torah, the title that he deserves. And the Rebbe tells him, I really can't use this title when I'm looking at the situation and it doesn't fit in with who I am and what I stand for. I could have used this expression when Asafa L'chutz, but they tell me that you are Amiti, Lo Yiretzisi L'chazev Benafshi. I didn't want to do something which is L'chazev Benafshi, and Sachakel write on a letter the word Nasi, president. Because that's called L'chazev Benafshi. That's being dishonest with what I stand, and that's something which is a Dover Noisif, something which is me, Yom Holchi L'cheder V'ayit Koidem Lazeh. The Mahus, the Yechida, if you will, of the Rebbe is Gula Mashiach. Bias HaMashiach B'Peil Mamash, and the Rebbe says this is Mases Nafshe, and them Lichter, and them Kochtazir, this is my union. Allah has come how it is after Yud Shvat Tovshin Yud Aleph, when the Rebbe laid down the foundation that this is what Deira Shvi is all about. So those who da Mamish is Lubavitcher is aktiv und stark und gesund und frisch und jeden Tag gesünder und frischer und mehr aktiv und so lebendig und gewaltig v'chulu is keul doidi doifek pischili. Der Rebbe klappt sich beim Tier. Our doidi is our discussions to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe mont pischili achosi rayosi enosi samosi. The Rebbe lost nicht me soll ruhen. The Rebbe doesn't let us rest. The lashon that the Rebbe used, v'liyis nishmas, I don't have it in front of me, I might not be saying it b'diuk. V'liyis nishmas bazneinu tamid. Keil kriyas kveter smari v'cham yadmur. Again, I'm not saying the exact words, but the teichen of us leik min up sich an erev Shabbos noch hatzos. This is liyis nishmas bazneinu tamid. We have a mission, and an urgent mission that we have to accomplish. And afila yid was a steine yid mit a leve heaven, und zet was is Gimel Tamuz biyama wollte gekehrt a Welt. We bei us is Chorev Beis HaMikdash biyamav, Schinte begelusa, Nesiderenu begelusa, Melech Hamoshiach begelusa, L'shamas HaGveis, L'nechra Babayis Klal. But legabe us is Schinte begelusa. There is no, if so long, even though it's Yimei Mashiach bepashtus. And even though Mezitchen beim Tisch mit der Sheira Bar mit Levyosen, und bechol doir v'doir echet mizere Yehuda shuroili mit zitkase liyas geil, Ubederenu nesiderenu beloshen, like it says in the Sichos. But so long that the eyes are not open, sagt der Rebbe in Mishpatim und Beis, this Sicha of Mishpatim und Beis miyad, Pulase shel Melech Hamoshiach ala Amim, and das is a Gedel Hatzar v'Havola. It's a tremendous Tzar and Havola. Mishalach nun Beis, Miriam al Shem Merirus, Hayitachim, we don't see Bepel Mamish Gula Mitzvah Shlema. It's not as if that Nochav Ches Nissen, this is Azua. Nochav Zayin Oder is da Azua Shaloi Be'erech. Noch der zweite Chav Zayin Oder is Shaloi Be'erech as Azua. Man macht Tanese, man pravt Bahab, man sagt Vayechal, öffnet Oren Kedish. Und Baruch Hashem, jetzt ist geworden ruhig. 24 Jahre, es ist ruhig, und es ist still, und es ist Baruch Hashem fein, und es ist gut. And we could go back to sleep, B'shachafta v'arvash nasecha, und der Rebbe ist da, und der Rebbe lebt. Und die ganze Welt erhört. Dem Rebbe, und man sagt, Yechi, alle Meiles, Gedeles, und Nefloes, so long that we don't see Gula, Mitzvah, Shleim, Bini, Beis HaMikdash, Melech, Hamoshiach, Omed, nicht al Gag Beis HaMikdash, in der Beis HaMikdash, und nicht sagt, Igi es man Gulaschem, noch der Schein, La'achre is man Agula, then as far as the Rebbe is concerned, es als lehevel v'larik, se garnish shareis davon. And this is not something which is negated to us as a prat nesev, as a dover tzaddi, or even a klal, or even a klal gadol, or Indian ikri, Indian achi ikri. This is negaya le'etzem mitziyusa, and again, belashon from the Rebbe and the Maimer Vata Tetzaveh, this creates a kosis, because this is negaya to your very, very mitziyus, not to your keiches agluim, and not even to your etzem anashama, the way it's higher than keiches agluim, but to the etzem anashama, which is even higher than being called etzem anashama. This is something which is pale and could even affect the keiches agluim. It's from madrega where etzem and gluyim are one thing. Everybody knows Vata Tetzaveh. So we can't go to sleep. It's something which is negeya ba'beker erev etzaroyim. A punkt azeh wie medaf macher sein nechi beker erev etzaroyim. Punkt azeh is negeya al kalponim lahaiminum kein. Punkt azeh is negeya so sich anhören as you wake up in the morning, like the Rebbe says in Toldus Nubeis, you right away feel Aver Shel Mashiach. Because kol yemei chayecha loirak b'shah shecheshev umedaber v'oise p'ulis to bring Mashiach chayecha etzem chayusa is lahavi l'meisa Mashiach. Al derech zeh when he says biyotcha af gedruchi daf gein schlafen an reifen is al kennen sagen morgen de früh shalom aleichem zu Mashiach tzedkenu. It's sein and nicht verstärkte Schlaf nicht kennen schlafen ruhig. These are quotes of the Rebbe. And this sense of urgency, this immediacy, this that's negeya right now, and this is negeya b'pearl, and I need to do it, and it's my union. This doesn't stop for a second. This is something which is every single moment. But kol neshima neshima, the halal yudke, the Rebbe said, kol neshima neshima is lahavi l'meisa Mashiach. Sitake negeya, and it's al kol echet vechet lahaimik daita, the Rebbe is unser Rebbe, und is kashrus, und Farbrengen und lernen dem Rebbe's Teirent, und der Rebbe's Mifzoyim, und tonnen Avedes Atfilo, mit euch Ave, mit Chilo, Rechim, und bis Ave, Betanugim. Aber das ist als Yesh Mishayev. Das ist als der Arum. If we're going back to the very, very core, what's our Etzem Etzias, and what's the Etzem Etzias of the Rebbe, which is his Tachlisai, his Galus. Leiv Yehudi, Eir Lavayel Teirasai. The koil doidi doifek is being heard. It's banging. It's an earth-shattering bang. It's an earthquake. On Gimel Tamuz we hear this doifek mit den ganzen Sturm. The tfiku the lib is pashat nothing less rest. Aber das nicht eine Sache, was hat sie tun mit Gimel Tamuz. Das ist eine Sache, was hat sie tun mit Tachlis zeh kala Adam. Mit Tachlis B'riyasai. Uvrias kala elam es alienim v'tachtenim. Und da wir so Avede von der Schwie, ja jedu am gefindt sich in der Schwie, und in unserer Avede ist liegt man am Schachas Aschkinem mit Achteinem. So when we're hearing the Koil Deidi Defik, When the Keil Deidi is coming and screaming, Lies Nishmas, Bas Neinu Tomit, Keil Kriyas, Chakmach Admur, Azicha getan, als sich kennt. Und nichts tut, als was ihr kennt. Gimel Tamuz, Besmiches le Gimel Tamuz is a time to think how this is Negel, a Meise, Bepeil, mit auf Ibi Keren Welten, Keren Welt eint, aber man soll sich sehen mit den Rebben, wo ich allein nur take von mir ad Mamisch, nicht aufstehen von Schlaf, Chas v'Shalom, nicht trachten wegen dem, als in der Gehe soll sein, Gula mit dieser Schleim Bepeil Mamisch, und nicht Chas v'Shalom gehen schlafen und sagen, Biatche, Afgedruchi, nicht trachten wegen dem, als in der Gehe soll sein, Gula mit dieser Schleim Bepeil Mamisch. Weil der sehen, Masche bin Time zwischen aufstehen und gehen schlafen, wie hier rotzen, das soll sein, Mensch wie die Buren bei Almem soll sich Tage sehen mit den Rebben Bepeil Mamisch, und der Rebbe soll uns ein Reis nehmen von dem Golus HaMarazeh, ein Golus HaRuchnin, von Golus HaGashmi, Keil Leche de Golus von Somem Cheshech Leir, am Moment am gefindt sich in Geulur Nazami Nefen, as viel nicht kanine shel Golus, Keil Leche der Golus, as Taki Yemeis HaMashiach bepashtus. Es ist Taki Yemeis HaMashiach bepashtus. Aber das Guf ist die größte Golus. Kvarama Misha Amar Rebbe Shas, me gefindt sich bei der Rebbe's HaKofes. In 770. Und der Rebbe ist Menatzeach, am Melech ist Beis Havaya. Und man steht in 770, man kann gar nicht sehen. Nicht sehen und nicht hören. Und das kann holisch enke die Gmasse. Der Rebbe gefindt sich in Makom HaShlichus. He's far away. Okay, he knows Yidl Chetchila didn't come to 770 for HaKofes. He's not happy about it. He's doing the Rebbe Shlichus, etc. But imagine if you're here and everything's becholat taken mit den ganzen Studem, and there's some Frenchie, Ludugmas, muss sein a Frenchie, which is standing and blocking you, or there's those fogs that used to be often by HaKofes. A couple of times they had by HaKofes this big fog, and you're one of those people that need glasses. Auf die öffnen die Augen. And your glasses get fogged up, and literally you can't see the whole entire HaKofes, and you can't hear out today, so you can't see anything. Die Geschrei von Admasa, sehr viel mehr. Ist das, dass man sagt, dass die alle in Jana, was da bepasst ist, und die einzige Sache, was fällt ihm, sei soll öffnen die Augen, das nimmt nicht da weg von der Geschrei von Admasa, das nimmt nicht da weg von der Geschrei von Yechia Melech, weil das ist der Teichen von Admasa, und der Rike soll sein, der Yechia Melech, bei Peil Mamisch, gesehen mit dem Rem, wo hier geleinu, Lielam Vod, der Teichen von Yad Mamisch.
everybody help out. Bakashala nashir b'yachad. We have with us tonight Harav Aaron Raskin, Shliach, Brooklyn Heights, and we're happy to have him, and we're happy to ask him to please come up and say a few words. Thank you very much. And of course, thank you to the Rav Bloim, Mardasra, for the very, very strong and inspirational words, strong meaning very, very strongly needed. And we have to focus, as the Rebbe says, on the second tkufa, which means we have to focus on the end. We can't be satisfied until it's all the way till the end. And the Rebbe talks about the Haftarah on Chol Hamoed Pesach. And the Rebbe talks about the Haftarah that discusses the Cheskel HaNavi with the Neshamas HaYeveshes, that has to be the focus already on the first days of Pesach, when we're still dealing with Yetzias Mitzrayim, and we're still dealing with the first stage of Geula, that we should never give in and never stop until we have the final Gemula Amitas Vashlema, and even then, we have to have the Tkufa Shniya, which can come at Basachas, as the Rebbe says. Thank you.
Gute Woche.
Yeah.
L'chaim. Thank you, Rabbi Kahanov, Bereshus von der Morde der Asra. Yarach Yom HaMamlachtoi. And to all the Chassidim who are here today for Gimel Tamuz. Over Shabbos, we learned the Maimer V'ata Tetzaveh, which talks about the idea of Emunah and how the Raya Mehemna, which is the Rebbe, gives every Yid this faith, to have tremendous faith in Hashem. I want to share a few stories from my neighborhood, the Mokam HaShlichis, B'negei to Emunah and the idea of Bias Hamoshiach. Many years ago, when I came to Brooklyn Heights, I met a Jew with a long white beard. I began to talk to him. His name was Kalman Cowell from Duluth, Minnesota. And he was not a religious person at all. But when we needed to make a sukkah, for the first sukkahs that we were there, he invited us to his floor, the 12th floor on the building. So therefore we had to walk up 12 flights to go to his sukkah throughout the holiday. While we were there on Farbrengen, he says, you know, I know the Rebbe. I said, you know the Rebbe? He says, yeah, I know the Rebbe. When did you meet the Rebbe? He says, well, one day I was on 5th Avenue and a Mitzvah tank pulled up and one of the Bachrim asked me to put on tefillin, and I put on tefillin for the first time. Then the Bacha said to me, maybe you want to come up to 770, I learned Torah. I said, okay, I'll try it. So for 3 months, he came every day here to 770, and he learned with the Bachrim here in the yeshiva. After about 3 months, the Bachrim say to him, no, it's time to go see the Rebbe. And the Yid said, look, I don't want to bother the Rebbe. The Rebbe is so holy, the whole world needs him. I should go bother the Rebbe and talk to him. So the Bachrim said, look, it will do the Rebbe good. The Rebbe will have nachas if you go see him. He says, really? I could bring the Rebbe nachas? If I could bring the Rebbe nachas, I'm going to go see him. So they worked out a yechidus, and he came that night into the Rebbe's room, and he began to speak and told the Rebbe, first of all, Rebbe, I want to thank you that you allowed me to study here in your college, because most colleges, if you want to study, you got to pay thousands of dollars. Here, I came for free. You didn't charge me any tuition. I came when I wanted. I left when I wanted. I ate. Everything was beautiful. So thank you for allowing me to study in your college in the yeshiva. And then he went on to tell the Rebbe, you should know, Rebbe, I don't want to stand here under false pretenses. And he said in a very geschmacky Yiddish, Rebbe, I have sveikis in emuneh. That's the way he said it. I have sveikis in emuneh. And he told me I was sure the Rebbe would get up from his chair and his eyes would bulge from his eyes, come out of his sockets, and lightning would come out of his fingernails, and he would curse me that I'm going to go to Gehenna, I'm going to burn, because I don't believe in Hashem. And he said, the Rebbe smiled at me, and he said, Kalman, as long as you're concerned, I'm not worried. He said, the Rebbe took the ball, put it right back in my mitt. He says, Kalman, you deal with it. But the fact that already you have this concern about Emunah, it means that you're already going in the right place. And so we know this was the Rebbe, that he constantly gave us Emunah. I told once one of the mashpiyim here that my wife has a cousin in Lakewood. And I was talking to him once about what I do and shiurim. He says, so what kind of shiur are you giving now? So I told him I'm giving the shiurim on the 13 ikrim of Emunah. He says, wow, that's a very difficult shiur to give. I say, what do you mean? There's a lot of sikhs of the Rebbe, a lot of mefarshim on it. He says, no, to give a shiur on the Yud Gimel Ikrim, you have to really believe. Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe constantly gives us emunah every single day. That the emunah is not only b'makifim, it's also b'pnimius, that we taka believe. I had a Russian Yid who a number of years ago wanted to get married. He came to me, I should do the chasana. So I said to him, you know, are you gemalit? Do you have a bris? He says, no, Rabbi, I don't have a bris. I said, you know, in Judaism, first you have a bris, then you have a bar mitzvah, then you get married. I can't do the wedding without a bris. So he was masking to do a bris. So I bring him here to Crown Heights, and I introduce him to one of the moilim over here, and I become the sandik, and the moil takes a big needle and gives him, you know, the anesthesia, and I'm holding on to his hands, and we're talking, and we're singing, and all of a sudden, it's almost over. He's doing the last few stitches. He says, Rabbi, I feel it. I said, uh-oh, you shouldn't be feeling anything now. He said, no, I feel it. I feel the pain of the bris. And I'm looking at the moil's looking at me, and we don't know what to do. I said, maybe you should take another needle and give him anesthesia. He says, no, it's too late already. We're almost finished. If I do it, it'll take an hour till it takes effect. I'm going to continue sewing up. I tell the guy, I'm sorry, but we have to finish the job. He said, I'm leaving right now. I said, you can't leave right now. It's not finished. So I said, no, maybe we'll sing a song together and you'll take your mind off the bris. So we start singing, you know, I was singing. And he says, Rabbi, it's a nice song. I know the Alter Rebbe wrote it, but I still feel the pain. I say to him, you know, try to think about something deep that we learned maybe in Chassidus over the last few weeks. Maybe it'll take your mind off the pain. And all of a sudden, he stops talking, and he's meditating, and the moil finishes the bris. So after the bris is over, I turn to him, I say, tell me, what were you thinking about? What were you being mechavin at the last few moments? He says, Rabbi, you always told me that the Rambam says that if a Jew does one mitzvah, he could tip the scale to salvation and to bring Mashiach. I was praying to Hashem that Hashem should be mekabel my bris to be the final mitzvah to bring Mashiach. And this is what it means to live with Mashiach, to know that this is the final mitzvah that's going to bring about Mashiach. L'chaim, l'chaim. I just want to end with one last word. Today in the Parsha, we speak about Koirach. And the Rebbe asks in many sichos, Shem Nishoim Yirkov, how can we name a Parsha after a bad person? And the Rebbe goes on to explain that Koirach wanted to live with Mashiach. He wanted to bring Mashiach right there and then. To quote the Rebbe, that he wanted to be poyel la'asid lavoy at that moment, because he knew he was a pikach, he was very smart. He knew when Mashiach will come, that the Leviim are going to become Kohanim, and he was a Levi, and therefore he wanted to be poyel right there and then, the Gilui of Mashiach Tzidkeinu. And the Rebbe goes on to say, the problem was, even though his Ashkafa was correct, and his Shita was correct, it was too early because he was not yet mevarer all the Berurim. But nowadays, today already, that we finished already Averis HaBerurim, we have to learn from Koirach that we have to know that we have to be Poel Yeshua's Bekerev Haaretz, that we have to make sure we bring Mashiach now. It's interesting that if you look at the simin of the Parsha, at the end of every Parsha is a simin. The simin in this week's Parsha is Daniel. And the shaila is, what's the shaykhs between Daniel and Koirach? And if you look into the sikhs of the Rebbe says something very interessant. He says Daniel was unique because of two reasons. From all the Nevi'im, the 48 prophets in the whole Torah, Daniel was unique because of two reasons. Number one, he is the only Navi that writes a specific date when Mashiach is going to come, from all the Nevi'im, and the Mefarshim, Amaylechan, and Barichas Gadol. And number two, he says, you find that Daniel had more Mesiras Nefesh than all of his peers. What's the raya? The Rebbe brings a raya from Gemara Ksubis. It says that Amoli Nigduha, that if Hananiah, Mishael, Isaiah that were thrown into the fire, if they would have been hit with makis, with lashes, they would have given in, I would have polchul tzalma, they would have bowed down to the Avodah Zarah. But because the Gemara does not mention Daniel, it means that Daniel had tremendous Mesiras Nefesh, tremendous determinism, and would never have given in. We know that Rebbe always tells us when there's more than one biur on one vart, you have to connect them all together. In other words, Daniel was a person that had Mesiras Nefesh, total Mesiras Nefesh for Mashiach. And he was crazy about Mashiach. Everything he did was about Mashiach, that he wrote the exact day when Mashiach was coming. And because he was so crazy about Mashiach, l'chura, this is the pshat in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, why we say Mashiach is going to be, could be Kagoin, like Daniel, from all the prophets. Doesn't say Kagoin Elisha, Kagoin Eliyahu. Dafka Daniel, we say Kagoin Daniel. L'chora, the pshat is because Daniel was a person that was totally obsessed with Mashiach. Everything he did with Mashiach. Today is Gimel Tamuz. Today is Shemesh Begiving Doim. It's a day that the sun never set. The Rebbe is our Shemesh. He continues to send us light. He continues to send us inspiration. And we hope and pray that we should be a Chassidim of the Rebbe to do what he wants. To learn the Chitas, and to learn Rambam, and to learn the Sikhis, to learn Yonah Mashiach, and to inspire other Jews. And most importantly, to inspire ourselves, L'kabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Good day.
Yeshikoyach Rebbe Raskin, thank you very much. And this should be the one mitzvah of waiting and anticipating and believing and being Mekabel Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'Peil Mamish should be the one mitzvah that we're ready. And that's a mitzvah of listening to the Nasi Ador. It's a mitzvah of Amunah and Mashiach. It's many mitzvahs. And you know that there's a day that says Anochi Hashem Lekecha is talking about the mitzvah of Amunah and Mashiach. So it's a mitzvah in many forms and in many shapes. This is a mitzvah that is an every mitzvah. That the Shetitzvah scale B'Peil Mamish. I just, maybe, if I'm allowed, if Rabbi Brian allows me just to extend and elaborate a little bit on what Rabbi Brian was saying before. If you take the words that the Rebbe stresses over and over, it says the avodah is Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu. Kabbalas Pnei Mashiach Tzidkeinu means literally that part of the Geula, part of Mashiach's being and coming and being here with us is that we're able to see it. As long as we don't see it in a gashmistic sense, chas v'shalom to say it's in a ruchnistic sense, because then we're falling in to a big trap. And that's exactly what the Rebbe does not want. To say that there's something called virtual reality. Virtual reality could be very dangerous sometimes, because sometimes it's even more real than the actual reality. Virtual reality has more, it could be bigger, the picture, it could be more defined, more colors, more, and it does the job. And you even get a little dizzy, and you feel like you're shaking, and you get nauseous, and you could settle for that, God forbid. So the inyan of Melech b'yafei tichzen einenu, and the inyan of v'hoyu einecha re'ezes meirecha, and the inyan of how we're able to see einei basar, is all a part of what the Rebbe wants from us. And yesh leimar, if you look at the Sikh and Gimel Tamuz Tov and Aleph, the Dvar Malchus, the whole Indian is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Eibishter created the world that we should be able to witness it. If it's for the Rebbe to be here, then what's the difference? There's no difference. And it's true. We have to live with that amunah, and we have to know that the Rebbe is here, and the Rebbe is chai v'kayom, and all these things. But at the same time, it has to be in an ofen that we could see it with our physical eyes. And because we believe that the Rebbe is here, and because we know that the Rebbe is here, and because we have to open our eyes, that has to bring out a gaguim, an anxiousness, an eagerness, and that has to make us feel a strong desperation to actually see. And as long as we don't see, it's almost like someone saying, I'm in the hall, and I know the chassan is in the hall, but if you don't want to go over to the chassan, you don't want to see the chassan Mazel Tov, and you're a close relative, a sibling, or a parent, or so on, then something is wrong. You're being in the hall, knowing the chassan is there, is to make you want to go see him. Taka, where is he? Oh, he's taking pictures. When is he coming down already? And so that's what we have to remember. It's a very important nakuda. Rebbe Brian explained it and elaborated, and I just want to say it in my simple words, that to be satisfied, even with one tiny drop less than seeing the Geula Mitzvah Shleim, as Rebbe Brian said, the union of Kibbutz Goliath, the union of Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and all those things, and seeing Mashiach, Poshet, seeing the Rebbe in front of you, Begashmis, that we know, the Gashmis that we know, is a part and a main and an ikir of the Shleimus HaGeula. Huh? Okay. Huh? We are going to ask for our next Farbrengen, Rav Zusha Zelberstein, Shliach of the Rebbe Melech Hamoshiach in Montreal, Canada, Please, Reb Zusha, continue the Farbrengen. So then I think we should stick to the English. Whoever knows Yiddish knows English enough to understand.
L'chaim, l'chaim.
The one in your face. In your mouth.
Motzei Shabbos. It's known there is the three lavdavkes. I'm telling a story about the Chalas Gulis. So I would like to share a story. Maybe an old one. Very old story. But I think a relevant one. There's a story told in Shmuel Hanavi that at one point Avshalom, son of David HaMelech, decided that it's time for him to, what he thought was the right thing to do, was to take over the Melucha from David HaMelech. Won't make a difference. It won't make a difference.
Rebbe, Vakasha, please.
It's Abel Chaim to ask somebody to be quiet. What? Was will ich jenem stellen? So Avshalom decided he gathered a huge following. And once he had a grassroots movement, he had all the people with him, or at least a lot of people with him, ready to go to battle with David HaMelech's army. He figured he also needs to get the leaders. He can't just have just the simple people, he also needs to have the Mizrachiden. David HaMelech had different yoyatzim. One of them, as we know, that the Pasuk calls Achitophel, that Atzas Achitophel is Dvar Hashem. So Avshalom asked advice of Achitophel. He wanted to have the support of Achitophel. And he got it. And Achitophel agreed with Avshalom that it's time for him now to take over the Melucha and to do away with David HaMelech. So then he asked him advice how to go about it in a practical way. Once he had his support, now he needs his advice. So Achitophel told him, first of all, how to misbehave with the family of David HaMelech. so as to prove to his people that this is a point of no return, that even if David HaMelech will forgive him, he will still stick out, he will go all the way till the end. And then he told them a military strategy, how to go about it, and he says you should do an ambush. You know that David HaMelech is a very fierce warrior, you will not be able to overcome him in a regular warfare. You have to go in ambush style. So that was the advice of Achitophel to Avshalom. But David HaMelech also had another advisor by the name of Hushai. And Hushai was devoted and committed to David HaMelech and decided he's going to do everything to save David HaMelech from this plot. And he presented himself to Avshalom and in fact even said, Yechi HaMelech. And Avshalom asked him, where were you till now? But says, now I'm committed to you. So Avshalom asked Hushai how to go about it, and Hushai also supposedly agreed with Avshalom that it is the time is now to demote David HaMelech and to take over the Melucha, and he told them, ambush is not going to work, you have to go out to full-fledged war. And the pasuk says that Avshalom decided to take the advice of Hushai over the advice of Achitophel. Pasuk continues and says that once Achitophel saw that his advice has not been accepted, and being the great man who he was, he realized that the writing is on the wall that he is history, that he's over, that his time is up, that either way he is a mace, not mitzvah, but a mace. Because he's a moired b'malchus, there's no choice. David HaMelech has no choice but must kill him. So he decided to do it on his own. And he said, Vayelech habayis, he went, Le'iroi l'bayis, he went home. Achitophel went home and he went back to his family. And just before committing suicide, just before killing himself, Tziva es bonov es beisa, he left the tzavor to his family. So in the Navi, in Shmuel, it doesn't say what the tzavor was. But the Gemara says, what did Achitophel leave? What affairs did he put in order before knowing that this is the last moments of his life on this earth? So he told his family three things. This is his tzavor. Al tiu b'machleikis, v'al timroidu b'malchus beis David, u'ba'atzeres broir zerachitim. Explaining, don't get into machlekes, which was quite obvious. He's paying a heavy price for his machlekes. Don't be a moired b'malchus beis David. And again, for now, he's still living proof that it doesn't pay. In a moment from now, he won't be living proof, but he will be proof that it didn't pay, which one can understand. And finally, he said, when it comes Shvuas Batzeres, you should choose the right kernels, the proper chitim. So there's a letter from the Rebbe in Erev Shvuas, I think Tafshin Tes, where this is a letter that the Rebbe addresses B'chlal Michtav Klali Proti. And the Rebbe discusses Bekitzer, as the Rebbe says, Bekitzer will discuss this Inyan. And the Rebbe asks a number of questions, a number of shaylas on this tzavor. Says, Koidim Kol, Al Tiu B'machloikis and Al Timroidu B'malchus Beis David is repetitious. Same thing. Obviously. Why does he say it in two separate statements? Why is this a separate tzavor? And weiter, what is the meaning of before Shavuos, Beroir, you should choose the proper kernels? And the Rebbe says, obviously we have to understand that this, if the Gemara tells us this story, that obviously there is a message to all of us. There is an eternal and nitzchizdik message. And obviously, the Rebbe Achitophel was not just anybody. At the moment when before he knows he's passing on, whatever way he chose to do so, but the last moments of his life, a person is serious. And especially a person like Achitophel. And what is he doing at that moment? He basically reflects his thinking about his entire life. So Achitophel somehow wants to bring out over here the concept that somewhere he failed. He fundamentally failed in his life, and this is the message that he's saying. So what is the message, says the Rebbe, that Achitophel is giving to his family and in turn to all of us? And as I said, this is a letter, Michtav Kloli Prati, that the Rebbe wrote. So Bekitz, the Rebbe explains the following. And it's related to the Parsha of this week, and it's related to the Pirkei Avos of this week. And the Rebbe says, what is the she'ifa of a person? What is the goal? What does a person want to achieve in life? Beruchnis. So we learned in the mission of this week, Shloishe Ksorim Hein. There are 3 Ksorim that a person wants to reach in life. Keser Kahuna, says the Mishnah. Keser Malchus and Keser Terah. How does a person go about achieving, advancing in his Avodas Hashem? In reaching to get those high levels? Says the Rebbe Lechura, there could be 2 ways. There could be Kabbalah's Eil before Seichel, or there could be Seichel, understanding, and then Kabbalah's Eil. What was Achitophel? Achitophel was the person who everything had to be al pi seichel. Achitophel was the type of person that he served the Eibishter. His approach to Avodas Hashem was, everything has to fit in his seichel, and now that it fits in his seichel, he continues. So Achitophel, when it comes to this moment, when he realizes that he failed in his entire Avodas Hashem, and he realized that his fundamental mistake was not just that he went and a milcham against David HaMelech. He realized that he fundamentally failed in his entire Avodas Hashem of his entire life. And he realized now that what's supposed to be, not first Seichel and then Kabbalah's oil, but first comes Kabbalah's oil and then comes Seichel. And he expresses this in those 3 ksorim. And he expresses this in those 3 matters. First he says, Al tiyu b'machloikis. Machloikis, says the Rebbe, the epitome, the example of machloikis is Koirach v'Adosai. What was the machloikis? What was the problem of Koirach? Pikechoyo. Koirach made cheshbonis al pi seichel. Koirach made a cheshbon, as he asked, Talish shekula tcheles chayeves b'tzitzis abtura. It's a good question. Al pi seichel, it's a very good question. Was sagt Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu doesn't go into big, long pilpulim and explanations. Moshe Rabbeinu tells him one word, chayeves. He's not going into debate with him why it's good, why it's not good, why it has to have dafke one tzitze, one treles, and it's and although al pi seichel you're right that if a tale shekula treles, the makif, etc. Moshe Rabbeinu tells him one word, chayeves, hob kabbalas eil. Koirach has no kabbalas oil, so Koirach wanted to get kahuna. Koirach Machloikis was Kahuna. He wanted to reach the highest level, Keser Kahuna, and he wanted to reach it with his Seichel. Sagte Moshe Rabbeinu, sie geht nicht das. Du wirst Keser Kahuna, Kabbalah Seil. That's the first thing. So that's the first step that Achitophel says, to reach Kahuna, to reach Kedusha, to reach closest. You want to get close to the Avodah Beis HaMikdash, das kann nicht gehen mit Seichel, das kann gehen nur mit Kabbalah Seil. Kesse Malchus. Hat sich verwollt Malchus. And as we says in Forschung, say that really, Teufel hat gegeben der Eitz auf Scholem, aber gemeint hat gemeint sich. Hat allein gewollt werden Melech. Hat den ganzen Cheshmet, der ganze Halacha. Was sie gewinnt der Cheshmet von Teufel? Teufel had a halacha dike al piseichel at the gata cheshmet. And he said the following. Shaul was demoted alachas. Shaul HaMelech lost his melucha because he did one avera. Says Teufel, David HaMelech shechota b'shnayim. David HaMelech hat doch getan noch mehr averes. Agam die Gemara sagt, Misha Mesha David chota typischu, aber Teufel hat gelernt an andere Gemara. Teufel makes a cheshbon. Says, if Shaul HaMelech lost the melucha because of one avera, so David HaMelech for sure doesn't deserve to be Melech anymore. Was is pshat? A cheshbon al pitere, a cheshbon al piseichel. That was his cheshbon. And therefore he decided that David HaMelech deserves to be dethroned. Sagt Teufel, I realize now that HaMelech is nicht totally in my seichel. The Meluch of David HaMelech in Ish Geboy does not depend if I understand how it works or if I don't understand how it works. The existence of David HaMelech is completely unrelated to my Avone Vasage. David HaMelech is David HaMelech because the Rebbe hat ihn gemacht Melech. Shaul is geworden is Melech because the Rebbe hat ihn gemacht durch Melech. Aber mit der Pilpul macht man nicht durch Melech. With the best Avone Vasage with the most beautiful Hechetimtze that you have in Halacha does not change the fact that David HaMelech is Melech. If you do it, you don't understand. Your understanding doesn't change the Meluch of David HaMelech. So says Teufel, I understand now my mistake. What's the mistake is? That I need Kabbalah Seil. And to relate to David HaMelech, can this gain no mit Kabbalah Seil and Ishval Pisechel. Finally, he says, comes to Shavuos. Shavuos is what? Keser Torah. How does one reach to Keser Torah, says Teufel? Broiler Chitim, what is Chito? Eitz Hadas is given a Chito. What was the issue of Eitz Hadas? Ladas, the difference between Toivera. To know the difference between what's right and what's not right. Says Teufel, when it comes to choose that Chito, when it comes to choose Torah, when it comes to choose the Seichel, you have to make sure that this is the right one. The right Seichel, the right Das, because Rachman al-Itzlan sometimes could be, der Das can verfehlen Rachman al-Itzlan and Heipach von ganz Matten Torah. Was ist gewesen a Zere, sagt why were we solche to Kabbalah Satera, although as the Rebbe says, Kimu kol ha'oves kol ha'Torah kula, was hat sich aufgetan bei Matten Torah? Matten Torah hat sich aufgetan der Ringen von Nase v'nishma. The whole idea of Matten Torah was to emphasize, to create nicht a Torah al Pisechel, no was then, Nase v'nishma Kabbalah Sel that comes before Nishma, comes before Sechel. This is why we were solche to Keser Torah. So says Teufel, when it comes to Atzeres, and Kshatinnig Maschele Daber only till he tasted that Chito. If we want to speak, we want to have something to say, we have to know that it has to be based on the Chito, which is the right Chito, which is the Nase Koidem LeNishma. That's what the Rebbe explains. And this is the Tzavor. And this is why the message of Teufel is a fundamental one. Since we're talking about the Malchus based David, we're talking about David, Melech, Israel, Chai v'Kayom. We're talking about the life and the existence and the eternity of David and Melech, Zog Teufel, and this is why the Torah tells us the story, and this is why the Gemara explains us that we have to understand that this is not something which is based on Seichel. The Malchus based David, the belief and the emunah in David Melech Israel Chai v'Kayom is not based on Seichel. It can only be based if we have the ultimate Kabbalah Sel. Wieviel Shailes and wieviel Kashas one could only have. Hast du sehr gute Kasha, aber a Kasha ist nicht mehr wie a Kasha. Doesn't change the fact. We heard from the Rebbe, nun und Aleph, nun Beis, Igias, Man, Gulaschem. We heard from the Rebbe that we already see Pur Leisov, we already see Mitzvah, we already see His Galusa, we already see the Gula. But the Rebbe says we are the last door of Galus with the first door of Gula. All we need to do is Effen Degen. All we need to do is Lahachen Esatzboy, Veskol Oilam Kula Lekabel, Pnei Moshiach Tzidkenu, fragt sich a Scheile, and everybody hat dieselbe Scheile. Adam sagt das, Adam hat das mehr gesagt, aber die Scheile ist, this is 25 years. Können Sie dich fragen a Scheile? Wir können auch fragen, wie klappt das? How is this possible? What's going on? Sagt Achitefel, sagt der Rebischter, sagt Tera, hast Kasches? Geh lern ich sie das. Hast Kasches? Lern wir Malchus. Hast Kasches? Tu mit der Rebbe Heston. Kabbalah sale. And with this Kabbalah sale, there's no question about it. If we understand the Nase Kedem Lenishma, and obviously mit die andere Protim, Altiu b'Machlekes, David am Melech will nicht kein Meluche, was bekriegt sich auf ihm zu, ist am Melech zu nicht. Zu sein Meluch Hazeh, zu sein Meluch Hazeh. Und David am Melech sagt, als der Reifen, wie zu leben mit David am Melech, zu viel David am Melech, zu senden Chai v'Kayom, zu ankommen zu der Gule Bepeil Mamish, ist nicht Chas für Sholem durch die Fahne, was David am, was Achitefel hat gewollt haben, nur die Zavo, was Achitefel lost uns. And he says clearly that we have to have the Kabbalah sale, the Nasev and Nishma, so we have to have, as the Rebbe said clearly to us, Daf leben in Yom Hamoshiach, we have to learn in Yom Hamoshiach, Gula Moshiach, as they are, in Teresh HaBiksav, all the way till the Lekut Sichas for the Sidarenu. Zog the Rebbe Poshet, we have to learn the Inyanim as the Rebbe says it in his Sichas. And we have to live it. And we have to part it with everybody else. This has to be something that is done with the tremendous Achdus. And I think Rabbi Mentlik Olav Shalom always used to love, start every drasha gesagt hat, gerät mit Hayem Yem. If we think that the Hayom Yoms of Beis Tamuz, the Achane to Gimel Tamuz, in Achane to Gimel Tamuz, read the Rebbe wegen Aves Yisrael. Das ist Beis Tamuz. The Achane to Gimel Tamuz, read the Rebbe, the Inne von Aves Yisrael. Gimel Tamuz, sagt der Rebbe, es kennt seiner Krechts, aber man darf aber wissen, dass der Krechts auf sein Tshuva, nicht der Krechts, was so viel zu gut nach dem, aber es dann der Krechts darf sein, der Ruizbringen Tshuva, der höchste Darge. Tshuva is was the Kabbalah sale, and there's no question about it, through the Kabbalah sale, Malchus Shemayim, the Kabbalah sale, Malchus for Rebbe, wird man sicher sein, any second, Poshet sind sich mit Rebbe Dole Mato, und zusammen hat man singen die Shira Asiris, Yechia Denenu, Mereinu, Rabbeinu, Melech Hamoshiach, Lielam Void.
Yes. Achim Chaviv, the known Farbrengen, Mashpia, and all the other things, the Menal of Nochen Liadus, Rav Shlomo Majeski, to please continue the Farbrengen and close the first formal section, part of the Farbrengen. Please, Rav Shlomo Majeski. We also want to thank the Bochum who put this together, Likud Minus Etavshin and Aleph. And make sure you pick up a copy they're giving it out. It's a shula for this Farbrengen. And it should be Peil Pool also.
Yeah. Chaim.
You gotta be out by 1. I mean, this whole thing is like over by 1. I'm sorry.
They're coming 1 o'clock. Russians are coming. One of the things that many people pointed out, and it's kedai always to point this out, that the Rebbe at different occasions spoke how the Friedricher Rebbe said things, and he said them to prepare us for certain things in the future. Example was came Yud Beis Tamuz Tovshin Yud. People had a question whether or not they should say the new kapitel. They were saying kapitel Ayin, should they say kapitel Ayin Aleph? And the Rebbe said that last year was Tes Tamuz, there was a sikh of the Friedricher Rebbe, where the Friedricher Rebbe said that a chassid should say an extra kapitel Tilim, and for the purpose that the schus of the Rebbe should shine upon him, and the Gila should be nimshach in apnimius. So the Rebbe said, why did the Friedricher Rebbe say this last year? Why not years before? And the answer is because he wasn't stam talking about a kapitel Tilim. He was talking about his kapitel, the Friedricher Rebbe's kapitel. And basically he gave the answer that next year Yud Beis Tamuz is going to be a suffix by certain people, should they say the kapitel or not. And with that, he gave the answer. And the Rebbe explained why wasn't he more open about what it means. And the Rebbe said that we find this benegeya to a story with the Mezritcher Magid, that once one of the Talmidim of the Mezritcher Magid spent time by the Magid and then he left. Before he left, he went into the Magid to say goodbye. And right after that, the Magid asked the Talmidim to do everything they can to stop him from going home. But don't tell them it's coming from me. And when they said it to him, he wasn't convinced. And they tried to hint to him that it's coming from the Magid. So he went in again, and again the Magid said goodbye. Didn't say anything. And again he called in the Talmidim, they should stop him. And he was even more sure, because he went in a second time, the Magid didn't say a word.
And the Rebbe said it happened a number of times. Ultimately, he just went home, and Rahman al-Islam, after that, he was nostalgic. And the Talmidim were very broken, and they came to the Maggid and they said, why couldn't we tell him that it's coming from the Rebbe? And the Maggid answered them that it says, B'negei to Moshe Rabbeinu b'chol beisi nemanu. And Moshe Rabbeinu was trusted. What does it mean, B'negei to the Eibishter, that he's a trusted servant? It means that he's not megala the things that he knows that are going on l'mayla. So therefore, the Maggid couldn't say it openly, but he made an effort to stop him from going in a different way. And the Rebbe said the same about the Frierdiker Rebbe. So there's no doubt that when the Rebbe spoke Gimel Tamuz, Tov Shin Nun Aleph, which is the last time that we heard a Sikha from the Rebbe on the actual day of Gimel Tamuz, that certainly the Rebbe there also spoke and said things that are negated to us now. And the question that everyone asks, what happened in Gimel Tamuz? How could such a thing happen? Tov Shin Nun Aleph, there was a Persian Gulf crisis. The Rebbe came out with a message, Hagiyaz Mangul Aschem. It started already in Tov Shin Nun. And then we saw the miracles that happened during the war with the Persian Gulf, the miracles that happened with Eretz Yisrael, that 39 Scud missiles fell and nothing happened. The miracles that happened in the war Bechlal, that they expected Rahman al-Islam, terrible, terrible things to happen. And nothing happened anywhere near their expectations. The Rebbe said that this war, Al Pi Teva, would have evolved into a third world war. And that didn't happen. And there are many more miracles that we're not even aware of. They didn't use the warheads of chemical warheads, which is a big nest, no one knows why. Nisim upon nisim upon nisim. And as the year went by, the Rebbe spoke more and more open words about the imminence of Mashiach, about the identity of Mashiach, the Nasi Ader's Mashiach, Menachem Shmei, and it was basically becoming progressively stronger, louder, more exciting, and then all of a sudden, Achav Zayin Adar and Gimel Tamuz. So the Chayra, this is the Rebbe's answer. The Rebbe talks about Gimel Tamuz of Tafresh Pei Zayin, but the Chayra, that's the answer for us now. And the Rebbe there says, how did that, there was a nest, the Rebbe, Frierdiker Rebbe is going out of jail, was a nest, l'mayla m'derech hateva. So why did there have to be such a thing as Gimel Tamuz? That he didn't go out of jail alone, but he went to Kastrama. And then he was in jail and went out from Kastrama, from the Yud Beis Tamuz. And that still didn't end, he went out to Gimel Tamuz. And even that wasn't finished. It took 60 years until finally the regime of the communists fell and collapsed completely. So basically the Rebbe's answer is that there's a certain Seder, the Eibishter wants even things l'mayla m'derech hateva, but it should happen in a certain talich, in a certain order that happens in Ne'elam Hazeh Gashmi. So therefore it happened in such a way. And the Chayre does the same answer here, that Gimel Tamuz, Chas v'Sholem, nothing changed in terms of the Rebbe's Nevuah, Hagiyaz Mangul Aschem, and nothing changed in terms of the Rebbe's words that the Deir HaShvi is the Deir that Mashiach, that Nizgalaben, and that the Rebbe is Mashiach Shebedeir. All these things didn't change, but for whatever reason we're going through a process that it's leading up to that ultimate time. I just think what's necessary to add is that the reason why there are people that have difficulty with this, it's really not about Gimel Tamuz specifically. It's because they don't really think and recognize and realize what the union of a Rebbe is Bechlal and what the Rebbe Befrat, our Rebbe. And if they would realize that, all the kashas would disappear. Just to say this Bekitzer, that Benegeya to Yidden, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu is the Eibishter should be v'neflinu ani be'amcha. That Yidden should be recognized that they're moved from Umas Olam. And we know the Eibishter was umalad is bakosha, but there's certain Yidden that have a shita, they had a shita, that this part shouldn't be so pronounced. We should try to hide it as much as possible. And as much as possible on the outside, we should present ourselves that we're like everybody else. We're normal. Unfortunately, the Shita did not work. The Shita was mainly Yidden in Germany. And the Rahman al-Islam, it only led to the Churban Gashmi and Churban Ruchni, as we saw. The truth is that the Yid is supposed to be beneflinu, supposed to be different, and that difference has to express itself in everything, in achila, shtiya, levushim, and dibur. Everything he does, it has to express, and he has to be happy that Hashem Matev Chalkeinu, that we're different. Just like beneflinu, in a general way, applies to Yidden, Chsidim and Tmimim are also supposed to be beneflinu, and we find in the Sichos of the Rebbe, Sichos of the Frierdiker Rebbe, that a Tomim is supposed to be beneflinu, supposed to be different. Someone who learns Chassidus, someone who's Mekusha to the Rebbe, has to be different. And also that difference has to express itself in everything. Like it says in Ayem Yem, that one who's Mekusha to the Rebbe, you can see it as Geita Chassid, as Esther Chassid, as Shlofta Chassid. It comes out in everything. And here also, unfortunately, there's some people that feel we shouldn't show this side of us. We have to show as much as possible how we're like everybody else. It's not different. The truth is, you can't really hide it. I remember once I went to speak in a shul of a Rav, and it was the Chazar Sicha, and he gave an introduction before I spoke. And he said that years ago, before I was connected to Lubavitch, they called me up to ask if I could speak in my shul, and I said no. And they said to me, okay, we respect that, but could you maybe share with us your reason why? So he said, because the Lubavitchers, you speak a different language. We don't understand your language. It's a different language. It is a different language. It reminds me of the story of someone who once came from a Litvish yeshiva to learn in Lubavitch. And one of the first days he's there's a Farbrengen. And the Mashpia starts talking to one of the Bachrim and says to him, "Was davenst du nicht? Why don't you daven? You have to daven." And he's thinking to himself, what did I do? Which yeshiva did I come to? That's what they have to talk to the Bachrim about. They should daven. But in the Chassidish yeshiva, the language is different. Davening means something else completely. And here too, there has to be this v'neflinu. We have to recognize who we are. And the reason why there's v'neflinu by Chassidim, because there's v'neflinu, the Rebbe is v'neflinu. The Rebbe is v'neflinu, like it says, v'negei to Yosef and his brothers, heim le'ikiru. It says that the brothers were great tzaddikim, but they had no hakara, no recognition in who Yosef HaTzaddik was, and didn't understand what he was doing. And we see this with the Rebbe in everything. The Rebbe has a different language, different approach. Other people don't understand it. Others the Chedesh Tamuz. The Rebbe refers to Chedesh Tamuz as what? Chedesh HaGeula. The rest of the world, Tamuz is the Chedesh that, what does it say in Shulchan Aruch? 5 things happen, Shviras Haluchos, and Batla Korban Tamid, and Hufka Ir, and most of the 3 weeks are in Chedesh Tamuz. And the Rebbe says it's Chedesh HaGeula. And why? Because the Frierdiker Rebbe went out of jail. Imagine, since Shviras Haluchos, it's over 3,000 years, only Rahman al-Islam, the other things happened, and because one time someone went out of jail, the whole Chedesh is called Chedesh Tamuz. And the Rebbe explains because the Geula of the Frierdiker Rebbe is really the beginning of the Geula of Klal Yisrael. And that's really the Pnimius of Chedesh Tamuz. But nevertheless, this is the Rebbe's language. The Rebbe refers to Chedesh HaGeula that this is the Chodesh of Geula, and by saying this, and by us saying this, it's actually Megala. And it's known, there's a famous word that the Tzemach Tzedek once said, that the Alter Rebbe once spoke about the Reb Shlomo Karliner. Reb Shlomo Karliner was a very, very big Baal Mephus. And the Alter Rebbe said, I heard in this Nusach, that he said that he's 2 Tvachim above the ground, and he could sweep away Teva like with a broom. Teva is nothing to him. Then the Alter Rebbe added, and there's certain tzaddikim that are alpayim amma hecha from the ground. And the Tzemach Tzedek said, the Alter Rebbe was referring to himself. So amongst tzaddikim, there's a beneflinu. And like it says in Chumash Benegay to Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Rambam emphasizes that when Miriam spoke Lashon Hara, she didn't speak Stam Lashon Hara. What did she really say? She said that Moshe Rabbeinu is a Navi like all other Nevi'im. She didn't recognize that his Nevuah is on a higher level. So the Eibusha said, Loi Kein Abdi Moshe. Moshe is a different category of Nevuah. And that's the reason why she had Saras, and that's the reason why it's recorded in Torah, because she was comparing Moshe to all other Nevi'im. So we have to understand that the language of the Rebbe is different, and the way the Rebbe sees things are very different, and it's because this is an together in Gansen. I remember when the Rebbe, one of the first sikhs, when the Rebbe speaks about the Inyan, as the Rebbe leapt, the Rebbe brought what it says in Tanya, Tzadik Dispater, he's in this, Elam Ezeh Gashme Yataber B'chayayu, and then the Rebbe adds, and that the Alter Rebbe writes about the Ben Horodoker, who was not a Nasi Chabad. Allah has come overcome, how much more so by a Nasi Chabad? Because the Nasi Chabad is in Gansen on a whole different level. So therefore, if we realize what we're talking about, it reminds me of the story with the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid. That the Maggid became a chassid of the Baal Shem Tov through an incident that happened with the Pnei Yeshua. And the Pnei Yeshua recommended that he should go to the Baal Shem Tov. He went to the Baal Shem Tov, and he became a chassid of the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov said that he should go one more time to visit the Pnei Yeshua. And he went to the Pnei Yeshua, and he asked him, how did you become a chassid? You had so many kashas on the Baal Shem Tov. And he said to him, that was only until I met the Baal Shem Tov. Once I met the Baal Shem Tov, and I saw the Baal Shem Tov, I saw that he is totally and completely beyond our hasaga. We have no shemetz of an understanding of the Baal Shem Tov. It's b'chlal a pella to even believe that he's a Yilud Isha, not one of the Malachei Morim. So once I saw that, I don't need any terutzim. There's lechatchila no more kashas. Lechatchila not a kasha. It's a different category completely. And this is where we have to say, Ashreinu Matev Chalkeinu, Vanoim Ger Aleinu, that the Rebbe told us, whether it makes sense or not is irrelevant. The Rebbe told us, Egiz Mangul Aschem, Hine Zeba, and the Rebbe told us that what happened, Tavshin Yud, the famous Sikh of Pashas Bey Nun Beis, what happened, Tavshin Yud, is not going to happen in our generation. And the Rebbe left, and the Rebbe is with us, and Elam Hazeh Gashmi, and the Rebbe told us that all these things are talking about Lamata Masora Tvachim B'Pel Mamish. So therefore, on this day of Gimel Tamuz, the day that in a way challenges our Amunah, we have to express our take of Amunah as every word that Rebbe told us, the Nevuah Sagula, as Hine Zeba, and it's going to be taken Yad Mamish, and the Rebbe himself, in his Galava and Al Melech Hamoshiach, like the Rebbe says in all the Sikhs, the Nasi Shebeder is Mashiach Shebeder, and all the other Lashonos, where the Rebbe said this so openly and so explicitly, the Setalts Mekuyim Beren, Leine Bosa, V'Yirasen, Zuzayin, take from Yad Mamish.